no. Is that I
That was
guess?
being Mr. Bank.
Hello. Got rules in
Which
here.
one? There's like 7 phones.
Yeah, I guess I'm the one, and it's on silent.
I thought I'm like,
You got two.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Bain has
I got my personal, and then I got the
three
text line.
phones there. Yeah, we got to put them all on
Rusty
silent.
radio skills, rusty.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my point is, it would have been all hands on deck. Let me mentor, let me nurture, let me bring up a young leader, because that's what you do. I look at it as a comedian. There was no comedian there when I went to Joker to say, hey, this is how it goes. I had to learn.
Ooh, that's so easy to
No.
say something. That was
Stop.
so easy. I leave that
But
right there.
Stop it.
there were other comics that took me under their wing, no Diddy, and said, hey, this is how it goes.
Yeah.
And they were headliners or former headliners or features getting ready to be headliners. So I got a good perspective. So at some point, nowadays when younger comedians ask me questions, I'm more than willing to say, hey, this is how it goes. Get there faster than it took me. So obviously, if he was good, because if you want to, people to follow you, in turn, you need to follow a leader if you want to be leader. At some point, you got to lead, you got to follow.
A good leader is a great follower. You gotta follow the lead.
So if you're in a position of following, then follow.
Yep.
If you're all hands on deck and you're all in, follow, show it, be there, show up. If 5 of your colleagues try to make out the window and then kicked out of Parliament, then stay out of Parliament till they go back. Don't posture grandstand and soapbox, because it's the I, me attitude that got him where he is today. And this is the part I want to get to. A band of mindless minions.
Mindless
Minions.
Uh-huh.
Because if you look at them, they was latched on to the Reverend Turner until she lost.
A lot of them were,
Then they jumped ship to the ministry that was on a wave, and not like this wave, but obviously ping pong, the nation flipping back and forth.
Building up to that, they carry on by. One of the particular segments, break up a whole table in the conference room in the FNM headquarters, break it, and then all of a sudden, is it now in minutes gone?
So then they was rolling. But it shows their effectiveness, because when they got to the polls, when they counted, he got monkey stomped. And nowhere along the way did they do a good job defending him or his policies, like other great leaders have been defended by their PR teams and their parties to defend a party or a point, or this is the stance we took. They didn't do a good job.
A lot of them are now blaming Pintas PR teams
That's okay.
for not defending their record.
Hold on, let me just finish. So, the whole rabid, blind, bully boy tactics is done. And about 3 years ago, in the chat group, somebody asked me my opinion.
In a chat group?
In a chat group.
Several chat
groups. What my opinion was, and I said, you need to ease up pushing the minute's line. He has zero popularity. People get the who farted look on their face whenever you mention his name. He brings back painful memories. Nobody's on his run.
Confident.
That's probably because they were vomited in their mouth when they said minutes. And see what I mean? So.
Well, Bahamians have PTSD from the whole COVID.
So the whole scenario. So, and that was honest advice. Like, if you want to bring this dude back, that's fine.
The former prime minister, not this dude.
Sorry, if you want to bring the former prime minister back, protocol, my fault. If you want to
you.
bring the former prime minister back, maybe you need to keep him down for a minute, freshen him up, make him over, give him some opportunities to offer some appeal, so he'll be more palatable when he approaches the electorate again.
But I thought they were doing stuff like this because I saw it singing
No, hold on.
karaoke,
Hold on.
dancing jungle news.
Everybody does that. Which one of the rest of
What?
dance jungle, like
Just
we all
ask,
dance
just
jungle,
ask.
like
What?
thanks, but
What I say that for?
I got you.
Oh, they come for me. Richard Johnson, 7-minute voice note.
Oh boy, really?
Yeah.
Well, you came for me a couple of times too.
Oh, Omar, I try to get side shots, but me and Juggy go way back, so Juggy know everything cool. Cause I can get off on him too.
All right.
And that's Peter. Me, I already know Peter. Peter is Peter, pumpkin eater. I can leave that alone.
Boy,
And then, you had a couple others. And then Erica Morris too. I just want to let all y'all know, y'all drug my name for giving an honest opinion. I told y'all so then. I told y'all so now. Minutes is a non-factor. His unpopularity and your weak sauce rhetoric is not working. It didn't work. That is why he is there in the position he is in. Partially his own self-blame and yours. And I have no love lost for y'all. I have no brief with y'all. It's all good. Y'all gotta just take this goosey on national radio. I told you so. And as far as the mini stocks from here on out, Mr. Producer, please let my good friend Dwayne The Rock Johnson let them know exactly what they could do with their mini stocks.
You're so hyperbolic.
Let's go to the break.
You're
The Menace
excited
era
today.
is over. Just like the Ingram era was over, the Menace era is now
And now
over.
the phone lines are lit up. Oh my gosh, you got him started.
And on the flip side of the break,
I'm sorry.
someone with aspirations to fill the gap of leadership
Absolutely.
in the country with a viable new option that people are asking for. The COI party leader, Mr. Lincoln Bain, will be our very special guest as advertised on the flip side of the break. And as far as the phone lines go, hang tight. We'll get to you on the flip side. It's the Monday, April 7th edition of Talking Heads with our special guest, Lincoln Bain, coming up on the flip side of the break. Keep it right where you got it.
You want energy right out of the break?
Yep, and then
Okay,
you're good to go.
just lean into it, and then I'll do it, and then we can get
And remind me, I gotta tell you, put energy back on your sponsored donut because it's not on there. But if you got live
I do
reads,
have the lead, so I'll do this as soon as we come out of the break. Just pitch to it, and then I'll do that live read. It's very similar to the last one, so.
This is basically the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
With the new barbecue bacon rice sandwich, bite into 8 layers of flavor with your choice of a spicy or original recipe. Extra large white meat fillet topped with our premium red sauce, lettuce, tomatoes, smoky bacon, American cheese, and our rich signature barbecue sauce. All placed on a toasted brioche bun. The new KFC barbecue bacon rice sandwich is here, and it's finger-licking good.
Spring is in the air, and so are the rewards. The Water Sage Corporation wants to thank you for staying on top of your bills. When you pay a bill in full, you'll be entered for a chance to win one of 30 Easter baskets filled with exciting surprises. Pay it full before you'll be late. Complete the entry form, and you'll be entered to win. Visit our social media pages for details. Up to it and win.
my point is this. Spare us the rhetoric on that, and you got other people trying to get something new and different out there. The people are here. We've seen the book. I mean, we've read the book, we've seen the movie, we've seen the cartoon.
So come on into John's, located on Rosetta Street in Palmdale and Carmichael Road West. John's.
They just see him as
We're still here. Since
Actually, I was sitting on the left of my phone and it's crap, it's 10 minutes, it's 11 minutes to the half four.
business and technology.
Let's read around the corner.
Printers to copier leasing, point of sale to cloud video surveillance, and access control to ATMs. We've got it all. And we ship to all family islands. Call our dedicated customer service team now at 397-1600 or visit us behind Wendy's on Mackey Street. In experience, excellence that stands the test of time. The Armory Company. Your success is our business.
You're listening to Talking Heads with Naughty and Mary Jane. Only on Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM.
It's time for the buzz. What are you buzzing on? Brought to you by John Shoes.
Handshake is cool yet from my bed to Pittsburgh. You coming in.
We're back at you on the Monday, April 7th edition of Talking Heads. Your boy Naughty, along with MJ, Earl the Pearl. We get right to our special guest, Mr. Lincoln Bain, leader of the COI, in one short order, but we got to get this in.
What we got to talk about?
It's energy.
Energy.
I need more.
Energy.
Yeah.
You know, energy is
Love it.
nutrition.
That's
You know
doing the sandwich going.
They've got their world famous smoothies. They've got their signature quinoa dishes, the best salads and breakfast fit for a king and his queen. And they're open for breakfast, lunch, and now dinner. Each order is made with love. They've got the highest quality ingredients and is nutritionally balanced. Visit any of their 2 locations, Old Fort Bay, open until 7:30 p.m., as well as West Bay Street above the Henrietta Plaza on the 2nd floor, which is open until 4 p.m. Follow them on Instagram and Facebook at Energy Bahamas. And if you don't know what to get when you go there, I recommend 2 things: the Botanical Green, which I absolutely love, and the Choco Joe, which is my favorite guilty. It's so good. Oh my God, Pearly.
Really?
It's delicious.
Oh, at least they get the tuna.
No, because they have a really good tuna salad. They've named it the best ever tuna sandwich. And they live up to that.
It's off the chain.
It really is
It
good.
is
And I thought I made
good.
a good tuna sandwich.
Leave it be there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
eat like
Yeah,
theirs.
it's good. I mean, as far as what
I
you
don't
get,
mind.
no, as far as what you get, you know, out on the market,
Understood.
you can't never be home cooking. You
Yeah,
can't never
that's
be.
it.
But it's
Food made
that's-
with love.
No,
You
it's
can't
not.
make,
That's
you
really
can't
good.
make, you can't cook. That's made with love. So, you know. All right. So, we got to get
Go ahead.
to our special guest.
Yes, absolutely.
Leader of the COI, Mr. Lincoln Bain. Welcome to the show, Mr. Bain. How are you?
Awesome, man. Thank you. It's awesome to be here.
Now, first of all, let me get the record straight. You know, you and I go way back.
Yes, way back.
We've had some ups and downs.
Yes, but we media family.
We meet a family, and you know, we met in the middle. We had, we broken bread in the food store. You apologized
I remember that.
online.
I was like,
I
what
thought-
is going on?
I thought it would have been more than 11 seconds, but hey, I take it. I know you're a busy man, so 11 seconds is better than nothing.
No, he did apologize, and I said, Lincoln corrected whatever the disagreement was between you two. So I'm, happy. with
And
that.
we're good with that, and we're glad to have you here. Obviously, we have lots to talk about.
Look at my name. Much people been in my house. You all been in my house. You're like family.
That's right.
Thank
So
you
I
very
can,
much.
and I appreciate the sentiment.
Yeah.
So that's why you can understand sometimes families disagree. You know what I mean? But that doesn't stop them from breaking
Yeah.
bread. So here we are today, along with Pearly. You had your opportunity. Several people that called in on Thursday, lobbying to Earl the Pearl. Gotta get him on. Okay, so here we are.
And
You
then
know what I mean?
Lincoln actually called me, and I told him I didn't want to interview him then because I wanted to sit down with him that we can really
Right.
talk.
Right.
But we did have a little back and forth.
Right.
But I'm happy to be here now. We can spend 2 hours, and we could, back in
Which is rare.
the day, we used to say, let's give him a haircut and shave now.
So welcome to the show, Lincoln. How's everything been going with you? Tell us a little bit, about how things have been going in your life. You got the family you got to deal with. You got these politics you got to deal with. Just what's happening with you?
Well, right now I'm trying to fight to save this country. I think the country's going in the wrong direction. This is what I've been doing for the last 2 decades. If everyone who's been following me knows, for most of it, I was not interested in politics. Recently in 2017, I decided to offer because I didn't see a lot of strong people in the House, in my opinion, and I decided to offer. But at the same time, we were fighting for the people, which is what our mission is about. We're activists. And so that's really what we're continuing. We caught on to the natural resources and carbon credits thing, and we feel that Bahamians deserve more than they've been getting. And so we're just fighting for Bahamian to get whatever it is that's due to us.
But carbon credits isn't the sole focus of it.
No, of course not. We want a country that works. We want to put Bahamians first.
Okay.
That's the mission.
So explain to us the principles behind this coalition. You say you're independent. I know we interviewed you before the last election.
Yes,
we brought
you did.
you on as well as some of the members from your group. Explain to the Bahamian people again this concept of coalition of independence.
Yeah, so when we first formed, we were Bahamian Evolution, and we were all
I
about
do
activism.
remember that.
We were not
Mhm.
interested in
Yeah.
politics at all, but we realized after being activists for a while that the politicians aren't going to do what's right. And if we wanted for Bahamians to benefit, Bahamians to be put first, you got to go in the house and make it happen. You got to take the pen from them. And so we decided to go in that direction. We formed, we formed a group of independents working together. So we were all independent candidates that were working together for a common cause. And we had an election. They decided that we'll call ourselves a coalition of independents, and that's how we went into the election.
So you're technically not independent anymore. You're a party.
After election, because
Mhm.
after 5 months of forming,
Okay.
it's called a slap election, and we had 3 weeks to really get everything together and get out there.
Mhm.
And we ran almost a full slate, basically a full slate, and we did pretty well for just getting out there. And so we decided that after election, we would talk to everybody and see if we wanted to form a party.
Okay.
And so we decided that we were going to actually formally form a party. And so on November 26, 2021, we actually registered the organization as a party. And we formally, last year, April, we officially launched having our convention, our
Okay.
official first convention, although we'd had elections before that, our official first convention as a party. And we officially launched as a party in April of last year.
So you are a party. I just want to be clear because you may get some criticism that it's a misnomer. Are the persons that are attached to your group actually independent, or are they expected to go by party guidelines? Is it that you expect them to follow whatever it is that you guys have in your constitution, so forth and so on? They're not truly independent, but that's just the name of it now.
Yeah, so in terms of independence, for PR
Right.
purposes, we decided to keep the name
Okay.
because it's hard in politics because there's so many parties, and sometimes even when you go door to door, they'll
Right.
say Coalition of Independence, and
Right.
people don't remember the name, but if they say Lincoln, people, oh yeah, that's what I'm voting for. And so for PR purpose, it
I
was
got
better to keep the name. And the reason we decided it was okay to keep the name is because
Right.
we're now Coalition of Independents, meaning independent thinkers. All right, we're not going to have a whip in our house, meaning that you're forced to vote how the party votes. And so we said we're going to be the Coalition of Independents, meaning independent thinkers. So we decided to keep the name. So it's just a name. You can call your party whatever you want.
Right.
All right, but we decided that that's the name we stick
Let's go
with.
back to this idea about not having a
Well,
whip.
I
So-
wanted to
so-
ask-
Oh, no, go ahead, Pearly, jump right
So,
in.
I know
Go
that
ahead
the
with
Westminster
the whip.
Westminster
Right.
system, and I don't know if it requires, but has a whip for each party, and the way it's based that the whip is in effect when it's time for things to happen for the government.
Right.
So
No,
is there a possibility that you'd allow yourself not to get your budget passed if you don't put the whip on?
no. So basically, what it is the whip is called when they want it to be called. The whip isn't always there, and the whip doesn't stop anyone from voting against government because people still with the whip there still vote against the government. All right, or still move on. You saw Brian McCartney do it. The whip was on when they was going to sell BTC, and you saw when they're going to raise VAT. Even though the whip was on, 4 of the F&M MPs still decided that they were not going to vote for VAT to be raised by 12%. So the whip is only theoretical. It's like a theoretical thing that we just need you all to behave and go with us, but you're not forced to do so.
But I mean, you're using the word whip as a verb. What about whip as a noun? The person who organizes, who ensures that persons are where they're supposed to be, they're aware that votes are happening. What about that role of the whip?
The whip is going to be the people. What we did, and it's in our candidate's application, is in our rules. You're going to go to the people before you make those big decisions, and so we're setting it up where you're going to be able to hear from the people before you go and make decisions on these major things. Like if you want to just call in loose examples, you want to legalize marijuana, for example, then okay. Let's see what the people have to say, and they're going to be able, through technology, through a mobile app, they're going to be able to vote
Real quick,
and
let
say,
me
this
just
is our opinion.
interject on that. Your
Mhm.
stance or the COI stance on the legalization and decriminalization of marijuana. Do you stand for recreational, medicinal, and sacramental, or is it just
Yes.
medicinal?
Yes.
All
I think
three facets. of it.
marijuana is a tree, and I don't understand why a tree should be illegal. Of course, this is a decision that the people should make at the end of the day, but marijuana is a tree. All right. It's not like cocaine that is a processed thing that you make. It's not even like a cigarette. That's a processed thing that you make. It's literally a plant.
All right, as far as the industrial portion, the hemp side of it, would the COI, if elected as the government of the day, look to diversify into that economy,
Yes,
into that market,
Yes,
and allow
definitely.
young Bahamians to get into the farming aspect of it for both, recreational usage, medicinal usage, sacramental usage, and then obviously the industrial usage.
Hemp 100%. I've done a couple lives on it. I went to Colorado and actually did the research, met with companies, did the check the paperwork, see how they do things, see what is needed to start this thing, see what the pros and cons are, why you can't grow in certain places. So we did all the research and I presented it to the public. I even went to marijuana and hemp trade fairs to do the research on all of this. So we're ready to get this going. This could be organic hemp from the Bahamas is something that we think that would catch on around the world.
Obviously, you'll have to go through red tape as far as export goes with our neighbors to the north, but obviously that's the negotiation. Say, Colorado. I mean, when you visited Colorado, that's a couple of years ago, right?
Yes.
So obviously, they've changed their stance on their bill as well because they wanted to enhance it. Because obviously, they saw that the first variation had some loopholes they needed to correct. So obviously, your bill moving forward would be something adequate, with taking into consideration those loopholes and pitfalls and hurdles that Colorado fell into.
Of course,
one of the initial states to introduce legalization of marijuana.
Yes, of course. One of the biggest issues was financial issues, and then there were issues of cross-border when it comes to states, etc. But of course, we would have to negotiate with our neighbors to the north. But we have neighbors to the north called Canada that will more than be able to accept us. They do it right now with other countries. And so we think also as a form of tourism, tourists may want to come here and get medical treatment using medical marijuana, etc. They may want to get hemp products as a tourist attraction. We have 11 million tourists coming here. And so we think that's another market that can open up big time.
Okay, I have a quick question. I don't want to be pedantic on this, but I'm getting so many text messages. Just to clear up this whole whip thing, because that's one of the things that you asserted. So the whip not only tells the other MPs what leadership expects and rallies them and brings them in when it's time for a vote, but it also communicates what the party leadership expects. You're a party now, and it also brings concerns from MPs back to the leadership. You will have no one acting in that role if you're elected as the next government. Is that what you're saying to us?
All of us.
Just before you answer, I'm sorry, but and on the whip, and I'm not trying to belabor it as well.
No,
but I'm confused. I want to be clear. As a cabinet, you're expected to vote as one. Without a whip, how do you control your cabinet to make sure that the cabinet decisions are made? And I know people did not listen to the whip. The whip is always on, but they're not haven't listened to the whip. Brandon didn't listen to the whip, and others didn't listen. But as a cabinet, you're supposed to come into the house and vote as one. How do you control that? If you're telling them there's no whip and there's an independent, you thinking you can just go as
let me show you the difference. The reason for the whip is normally when you want to put a bill that's going to hurt the people. All right. Hold on. Let me. That's only half of a statement. Almost every time you see the whip used is when you're going to put a controversial bill to the people that they may not want. For example, you want to sell BTC, our good profit-making entity. And so, of course, you're going to have to force some people to go along with that because they won't agree with that. Oh, you want to raise VAT. You said we were going to get rid of VAT. Now you want to raise VAT that you said was no good and the wrong way to go from 7 to 12%. Of course, the people won't agree with that, so you're going to need a whip. But if you bring bills to the people, that's going to benefit the people. We're not going to need a whip when we tell people, here's our sovereign wealth fund. We're going to have a bill for sovereign wealth fund so that every Bahamian can benefit from that. What are we going to need a whip for? We're not going to need a whip when we put bills in place that benefits us. Everybody gets a crown land because we deserve it. 4 million acres, 200,000 adults, we could get 1 acre and it won't hurt anybody or anything.
Hypothetically,
I'm sorry, Naughty, but in how to put this, I want to be kind. Go ahead, I'll come back.
No, go ahead.
Well, I'll ask this since you guys not asking. If the whip is on and a budget is supposed to be passed and you have no whip on and your budget fails, would you as prime minister of this country, if you're so elected, resign your position?
I don't believe that our budget would ever fail because we are going to.
If you would resign, if your budget does
you're asking me about a hypothetical.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Right. But what I'm
hypothetical without a whip.
No. With a whip, your budget could not pass. With a whip,
Well,
right?
you would know whether to take that particular budget to Parliament in the first place
All right.
with a whip.
So let me tell you the theory on this. The whip doesn't stop someone from voting against you. It doesn't. And we've seen that in the Bahamas, not just in every other country.
People, Lincoln. 1 or 2 people, but not the whole, not the majority of people.
Let me put it
Right.
like this.
Because if you look in government, in governing, it is a very hard job. Is there going to be some decisions that you will have to make?
But this is, yes, there's going to be
some very, very hard decision you're going to have to
Mhm.
make. Some things that you may have to do that does not control. You may have to pass a bill or something that keep the country floating.
Mhm.
Because people in Europe messing with us every day.
Mhm.
So there may be some hard decisions made. How are you going to do that if people in their consciousness say, "I don't want to do this"? You're going to allow it to fail in the country?
No, we're not going to allow it to fail. We are going to put things forward. I know we're not used to this in our governments. They always put stuff forward that doesn't benefit us. Every time they go to the House, I want you to think clearly, think back. It's only things that oppresses us. You can't do this, you can't do this, or more taxes every single time, more creative taxes. All right. We are looking to put bills in place to benefit this country like they're doing in other countries. All right. That are prospering, like in Norway and other countries where they're doing well.
So I guess
That's
that's a
our
perfect
focus.
segue. This is a great opportunity for you to break down
Mhm.
the now infamous shot heard round the Bahamas $100,000 promise
Mhm.
to Bahamians.
And so let me,
And let us know exactly how
Mhm.
that could work,
yes.
exactly which demographic of Bahamians you're talking to, so we
Mhm.
know exactly the figures that you're coming up with,
Good question.
so folks can actually understand and galvanize what you're saying and get it from, for lack of a better word, the horse's mouth.
Yes, good question. So this came about when John Pinda and other what do you call them? Union leaders
Mhm.
decided to they were going to research the aragonite industry. Okay, and so they felt that Ingram had just signed a aragonite deal, and they felt that Bahamians should benefit. It shouldn't be one little company benefiting from an aragonite deal. So they decided, okay, we're going to research this. After doing their research, they came back, wrote a letter that has been published. They wrote a letter to Perry Christie saying, Perry, Mr. Christie, Bahamians should benefit from this, like they're doing in other countries around the world with the natural resources. We believe, and they put in the letter, every household can get $100,000. And so this idea didn't come from us. And this was not an election promised by us. All right. This started with them. Perry Christie grabbed it. He said, you know what? This is true. And in fact, I love this so much. We're going to start a sovereign wealth fund like those countries around the world are doing. And he did the sovereign wealth fund in 2014. Of course, they never did anything with it, but he did the sovereign wealth fund to move in that direction. He also promised stuff like free electricity, etc. All right. So that came from them. When we got into it and we started doing the research on it deeply, I would bring those fellas who would talk about natural resources on my TV shows, on my radio shows in the past, and we would talk about it and we would educate the people, but we'd never seen the evidence of it. So when I decided in 2020 to start doing the research on this, I looked at what they had done. I said, okay, they're saying 100,000 every household.
And your
Let me
friends
see.
obviously C. Allen Johnson, the late KCX.
Yes, Prescott Smith.
Prescott Smith.
Pastor Andrew Stewart, who really was the person who really was the strength behind all of this. He's passed away. Micklin Seymour and others.
And don't forget your candidate from Montague, Mr. Graham Rutherford, Great Suit
Yeah, of
North.
course.
You can't forget Graham.
He's been speaking on
He's been
this for a long time.
regurgitating Seattle for years. So
Yeah. So once we decided to do the research, we realized that there was more than just aragonite. If they said aragonite alone, and Perry Christie agreed, and this was a PLP principle, that yes, and the former prime minister agreed, and he put law in place to move in that direction. We said that's just aragonite. What about the limestone that Vaughn Miller talked about $5.4 billion every 16 months? And that's the raw value, not what they sell it for. What about the salt that's going out of here? Every ship sends out $300 million worth of salt out of our country, every ship. What about all of the other natural resources that we have? And so we started to do research, and that's when we put out the documentaries to show, we formed Bahamian Evolution, and the documentaries showed documents, evidence, signatures. We showed you our aragonite being sold on the open market. No processing needed, because some people say, oh, you got to process this stuff. It costs millions to process this stuff. No, that's nonsense. In some instances, that's the case. But they are taking our raw aragonite, buying it and selling it for aquariums. They're selling it as play sand. They're selling it as all manner of things. They're using it on soccer fields and using it for all kinds of things. And so that doesn't take any processing. So with all of the stuff that we saw and investigated, we decided that if we take a certain amount of aragonite alone, we just use aragonite as an example in the documentaries, and we sell it for a certain amount of money, then we could have enough money to not just give every household a check, but to give every individual a check.
So just to be clear, because last week when you had a former member of the Free National Movement caucus, Mr. Alan Lewis.
Before you go there, are we finished with the?
No, I'm the discussion ties in.
Okay.
I read an editorial in one of the national dailies, the Tribune, and it said this thing that kind of stood out to my mind. Quote, back at the election, you may remember the leaflets from the coalition that promised such things as free education, free healthcare, free water, free electricity, free internet, and a check for $100,000 every year to every Bahamian with a passport. Mr. Lewis has hopped aboard a ship of fools with every likelihood that his political career will sink fast. Did you promise every Bahamian free electricity, free healthcare, free education, and a check for $100,000 every year to every Bahamian with a passport? Is that something the coalition has promised?
Yes, that's something that the coalition has promised.
And you plan to fund it how?
We plan to fund it, one, with our carbon credits. And so the University of Michigan has investigated our carbon credits, and they have said that our seagrass alone is worth $156 billion. That's not monetized yet, but that's the worth.
Right.
That's you found a diamond mine and it's worth this amount. Now you got to take those diamonds and sell them.
Right.
All right. So that's the value of it. If you have something that's valued that, would it stop? That's per year. What is stopping you from going after that? I don't care how much money it costs, how much millions you have to invest to get that. $156 billion a year. You need everything that you have in your country needs to go after that one resource to see what you can get from that. Pessimists always sound smart. Optimists get things done. And so it's easy to say, okay, it's worth that, but we can't get that. How do you know we can't get that? When America discovered oil, there was no big car industry. There was none of this stuff. They weren't using oil to make plastic and all these other stuff. It sounded foolhardy to put their stakes in oil. But they became the number one a miner of oil. No other country was doing on that level.
Let me ask you that right after your seagrass and your carbon credits.
Mm-hmm.
What's your stance on oil drilling in this country?
Okay. I think that our country is a paradise and we have to assess the risk. All right. I don't see the necessity of drilling oil, but I think that we can make money through carbon credits by them paying us to keep the oil once discovered in the ground. Brave Davis talked about it.
You have to discover it in order to do that. You have to do drilling. You still have the chance of leaks. You still have the chance of dealing with companies that who are we dealing with?
Right. Once
you're not dealing with the Shells of the world or the Exxons or the Texacos. Who are we dealing with? Last time I checked, they raised $900,000. It would used to be Luciano's to get the oil in the ground, to get the drill going.
Well, that was just a part
of Luciano's done closed now, so where they got very much sweetener again.
That was just a part of what they raised, and it was you exposed that in our documentary. Exposed the folly that they were doing. This company came from nowhere with no experience.
It might have been after a couple of this videos, but yeah, I understand.
Right, and it probably. And so they
wanted to. It's all about boiled fish, not oiled fish. With me.
And they were going to sell oil from the back of a ship.
And so,
correct. It was Mew exposed that video also, where he was saying that to shareholders. I thought it was ridiculous. But of course, if we do this, we're going to use proper companies to do this. Shell, Exxon, BP, real companies, the same way that Norway and the Middle East countries do. But we don't want to mine oil. So I'm telling you the option. You wanted to know how it was possible. I said that there's an option to get paid to keep the oil in the ground, but use natural gas.
And how much?
We have natural gas that is extremely valuable. Countries like Qatar mostly sell natural gas. We believe that we have a big store of natural gas, and that's more safer than oil. It's air, and so we can also tap into that. Between that, our limestone is extremely valuable. The ground you walk on is limestone. We have 700 islands and probably 2,500 keys, and we can identify some of them that we're going to use for that industry alone.
But Lincoln, quick point. You said you identified Norway as an example, correct?
Yes.
But Norway drills for oil.
Yes.
All right. They have a high cost of living, and the taxes are extremely high.
Yes.
So and they sell natural gas.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if you use Norway as a model,
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna drill for oil. Houston, we have a problem.
I didn't say that we're going to drill for oil. I said
You said
you
look
will.
at Norway for. I'm just basing on what
Mhm.
you said.
Mhm.
Look at Norway for an example. Now, if you
Mhm.
tell me look at in sports terms, hey, look at the Miami offense for an
Mhm.
example. That means that's something that we want to replicate because it's a copycat league. This is a good idea that's working for them. How can we replicate it here?
Mhm.
And obviously, we need to replicate it minus the oil drilling because we
Mhm.
don't need that.
Norway,
We ruin our blue economy like that.
yes, Norway has something that no other country has. $1.4 trillion sovereign wealth fund that makes each citizen who actually owns a sovereign wealth fund extremely wealthy theoretically.
From oil.
They-
From oil drilling.
Yes, from oil drilling.
Okay.
But that's their one natural resource. We have the natural resource that is the most used natural resource in the world other than water, and that is sand. We have more readily accessible sand than any other country in the world. And sand is used for more projects than anything else. And the world is running out of sand. So if you're Googling Norway, you can Google or go on YouTube and you can see the world
I have
is
my notes already.
perfect. The world is running out of sand, and you will see that there are sand mafias because of how rare sand is, how valuable sand is. There are countries that are out of space that need to buy sand to build more space, like Singapore. They buy from Malaysia next door. We showed in our documentary how much money they spent with Malaysia to buy sand from them. All right, which is not a good quality sand. Australia sells their sand for $390 per metric ton. All right, and that's the bad sand. That ain't the good sand like what we have. All right, and so that's the horrible sand.
Yeah.
And so we have something more valuable than what they have. And so when you eat, when you brush your teeth, plastic, all the materials you can think about, the sheetrock,
And you educate
the concrete,
educate us about
all of this is
right?
made from sand.
Yes.
Why aren't we using what we have? We're the richest country in the world.
I want to talk a little bit more about these natural resources. I know you talk a lot about aragonite, you talk about sand. My research that I've done on the carbon credits, I think that we have more of a value in the seagrass that we have. This government has made a particular approach about how we're going to deal with our seagrass potential blue carbons, which would be an emerging market we'd love to be the world leader in. What do you think about the way the government, the present government, has approached the blue carbon economy? What do you think is the value of our blue carbon economy? And what direction do you think we should be going in terms of blue carbon? And how much work is that going to take? Because it's not something that exists today. We would literally have to set this market up, be the world leaders, do negotiations with other countries, other companies. What is the COI's plan for that?
We won't be groundbreaking in terms of using blue carbon. There are countries now, particularly African countries, that are doing that, and they are getting, for example, free water, etc., from what they make by preserving their mangroves. We've played these videos from YouTube on my lives to show that other people are already dabbling in this. They're already doing this.
But the kind of money we're talking about.
Yes, the kind of money that we're talking about.
Talking big now. Big money now.
Of course,
Yeah.
and it's there, so we have to go and get it. We would be no ambition people if we don't go after the possibility of that while it's there. And so no one can quantify what the entire blue carbon of the Bahamas is worth right now. They measured the seagrass. The seagrass alone. That's not the mangroves. That's not the coral.
60 million.
According
No,
to the University of Michigan, the Bahamas has the largest share of Caribbean seagrass, 61%, providing total ecosystem services valued at $156 billion annually, including $54 billion in carbon storage.
Yes.
So any credits we would get.
And by the way, just FYI, Cuba is second right around the corner.
Yes.
With 30%.
Any credits we get
Yes.
from this depends on relationships. We know that the European Union is the world leader in pressing countries to actually adhere to these emissions rules.
Yes.
So we would have to have a great relationship with the European Union in order to get them to recognize our market. What is your plan for that?
Of course, we're gonna immediately get with the people who want it. They already have these stuff in place from 2014, 2016, really.
And approve the Bahamas as being a place that
we just have to jump into the markets. All right. Now there's the mandatory markets. All right, which is what this government is avoiding. They're going into the voluntary market. And the voluntary market is like, okay, you're going on a cruise and you want to be a good citizen, and you're saying, okay, my cruise, I'm going to put this amount, contribute to this amount of carbon in the air. Let me pay a country or someone who deals with carbon credits, and let me buy those carbon credits from them. Okay. So the Bahamas now is talking about going into that market. So when you come on your cruise, when you come on your flight, you will say, I'm going to be a good citizen and I'm going to pay this amount. Some countries actually put it in the price of a ticket. All right, because you're going to be doing that. Like how we have, when you bring a battery into the country, they have certain environmental levies that they put on you. Yeah. So it's similar. So this is something that's happening in the world right now already. But that's a voluntary market. But there's no oversight in the voluntary market. And that's why I believe this government doesn't want that, because they don't want oversight. But the mandatory market is when you're part of the actual markets and it's traded. All right, and it's traded. Chicago has one. Europe has one, which is the highest. It ranges anywhere from $100 per carbon. Sometimes it goes down to like 70 something, and that's a lot of money for each.
But
for each
like I
carbon
said, they
credit.
would have to approve your credits being something that these companies and countries can use to offset their emissions.
Yes,
that's an approval process.
Right, that is an approval process.
Right.
The process is already happening in the Bahamas right now. There are companies that do that, Gold Standard, etc. There are companies that you will just bring, you will hire them. They will go into your forest like they've done in Africa. They'll go into your forest, they'll measure the trees, and then they'll do a sampling and say that based on that sampling, they don't measure the whole forest, but they'll say this forest is worth this amount of money, and then you can make that forest a reserve, which we've already have forests that are reserves. Those forests that are reserves could be paying us right now in green carbon, not blue carbon, in green carbon right now, but they're wasting opportunities.
They're relying on experts.
All right.
And for blue carbon, this is why we're mapping it at a cost of $60 million with a relationship with a company where we get 49% and they get, I guess,
I think that's a travesty.
Right.
That's a travesty.
So what are your thoughts on that?
We don't need to partner with any company in order to get this done. We need to see who owns that company, who's getting some money on the side. This is too, I've also revealed who the company is. Yeah. But we need to see the owners, and we need to see who's behind them, and we need to see what's happening under the table. Because there's no way you should give this company 60%, and we take 40%
we agree
of
that.
what
I'm
belongs.
laughing on that.
No.
Now, you got to get to this call. They've been holding patiently. But take this call, and the other callers will get to you on the flip side of the break. And the ton of tax will get to you. In the top of the 5 o'clock hour, okay? And we'll have a fully loaded, continue the conversation with a fully loaded 5 o'clock hour with our special guest, Mr. Lincoln Banish, yours truly, Naughty along with Mary Jane and Earl the Pearl, right up until 6 p.m. But let's get to the calls real quick. Talking heads. Hey, thank you for your patience there, Knowledge. I know you've been hanging on for a minute. Go ahead.
Your former schoolmate.
Oh, I didn't hear.
Yeah,
okay.
You didn't hear. Say it again, please. Caller.
This is Wayne, Lincoln from CH.
Okay. See, I've never attended CH.
Okay. I have a question. One, would you be prepared to implement freedom of information as a cornerstone of your administration?
Immediately, we have been the Freedom of Information. In fact, we've put a Freedom of Information page on our website. We have been the Freedom of Information, exposing documents, etc., even some secret documents that we should not, put out there. The documents from the Treasury to show how much our country is worth, what the government has been spending, and so we have been the Freedom of Information Act. So based on what we've been doing, what we're going to do. We're going to open this country up to the people.
So from day one, freedom of information.
Immediately, the Freedom of Information Act is already passed and is already enacted. But what they did was Minister dragged his foot, saying they were trying to find a commissioner to be in charge of it. And finally, at the end of it, they did a commissioner, but didn't give him any money. And so Brave, those came in and they continued that with their budget, and they're giving no money to the Freedom of Information Act so that he can establish an office and do what he needs to do. And so they're choking him out because they don't
So
really
they have
want this.
somebody with a position with no office, no power. So you give a sheriff with no badge and no gun.
Yeah, well, no badge, no gun, and no money for the office.
And no horse.
You work from home.
So your response is from day one and immediate. Question number 2: are you prepared to conduct forensic audits? We're talking about money to delve into natural resources, to conduct audits of current, former members of parliament. It seems like every 5 years, people declare one amount, and after 5 years, they become millionaires. Are you prepared to conduct forensic audits potentially? And if previous members of parliament, whatever capacity you serve as a part of our government, if you can't account for those resources, have that returned to the people as well, because you're looking for resources to do these things that you're talking about. That's something that you consider?
Yes, that's something that we're actually doing now. A lot of the things that were exposed under the last 2 administrations was actually us. It was us who released the report with Lanisha Roll and the ministry that she was running. It was us who exposed stuff about other ministers. And so we have been doing that. And so we're going to continue to do that. We have several accountants who are now candidates for our party. And so we also have accountants behind the scenes rating and ready to work with us. We also have persons who have acted as auditors in the government, who are party supporters and executives of our organization. And so we are ready from day one to do proper audits, and there will be commissions of inquiry with teeth and with results so that we can legally pull all the information, make it easier for our auditors, and we can get to the bottom of what's been going on.
So you're prepared to commit your ministers, people that serve the public now. There won't be any 5-year millionaires in your administration.
No, we have persons who are millionaires already, but no.
We're not.
Yeah.
Clarify.
Yeah.
That were not previously after 5 years, all of a sudden they're millionaires. You will commit to that.
Yes. And they will be audited. They will be audited if that happens.
Thank you so much, caller. We do have to go to a
We'll
break
get to the
now.
break. We got Cuban Willie's numerology report coming up, brought to you, of course, by the Island Game. We'll get into the news in the top of the 5 o'clock hour, and we'll be right back with you in the 5 o'clock hour with our special guest, Mr. Lincoln Dane, leader of the COI. Yours truly, Naughty Law, and Mary Jane, Earl the Pearl. The phone lines will be open. We'll take some more texts, and we have several more questions from Mr. Dane, which we will get in, all on the flip side of the break. So keep it right where you got it. Good stuff so far. Keep the calls coming, keep the texts coming, and we'll pick it up in the 5 o'clock hour. Keep it right where you got it.
Good questions, guys. Love it.
Sorry?
I say good questions.
Yeah, no, we gotta get
These
to
are
the
questions
heart
that
of
we
it.
need answers to.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that he needs that really need answers to,
Here's Cuban Willie's numerology report. Brought to you by the Island Game.
Yeah, I tell you one thing, I ain't never catch none of Cuban Willie numbers.
It'll never be numbers. Come on.
Cuban
It's so
You
hard
ready
to catch numbers.
Today's
I'm
number
sorry.
995,
I know how
599.
people get
Right
lucky
there.
and even catch it. I know a lot of people
Four
get
bars
lucky.
from anything.
Wow.
What you want me to
They
do?
lucky
Sit up
than
every
me.
minute.
They're luckier than me. They're luckier than me.
The people is before that I tell you.
Oh, I know.
Somebody, they've called a couple of times with that. But I tell you, the football picks, I got people all going to food say, hey, thanks, man. That was good picks last
Oh,
week.
you're so lucky.
Yeah.
I'd be
Oh,
right.
the picks is done. The picks is a different
Well,
story.
between you two, your conversations about sports, I
Guys, we're on commercial break, so you won't be able to hear us during the commercial break. And so we'll be right back.
The president also said Iran will be in great danger if talks to halt its nuclear program are unsuccessful. He says a meeting is set for Saturday. I'm in Donnie.
What are you gonna do? Nuke Iran?
Let's hope we can come to that. This world is so unstable right now. It's so scary, but you know. Did you hear the warning about a potential recession?
Yes, that's coming.
Yeah.
That there's, I listen, I couldn't even wrap my head around that good today. I just saw that, like, yeah, Jesus.
I mean, we all
It
kind
do
of
take 3
saw,
months to destroy a whole good economy.
yeah, I mean, the word of the president of the United States means a lot. So whatever direction he wants to go in, the world got to kind of
But
adjust
Musk
and
leaving
adapt
this
to
month,
it.
right?
Well, he should.
He's leaving this one, right? I think they said he's pulling out.
And you
I
need
think
to pull out from around here too.
Because Tesla losing too much money.
Yes, they're losing money, and also the political blowback, even from Republicans. It's a lot, you know. It's a lot. It's a lot.
You know, Americans are dumb as people do it. I don't know how they so successful in life.
Because waves,
Yeah, I guess so.
you know, the wave of things going one way, then we'll push back another wave. So, yeah.
Well, you know, I was surprised that I went last night, you know. I didn't watch the game. Because I was out.
Crunch your hunger.
I'm surprised every time y'all win. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Really? The Spurs?
Well,
The Spurs?
Well, no.
Okay,
Now, hold on.
Let's
Now,
check it.
if our best players injured,
Okay.
you really can't
I'll take that.
compare it
I'll
the
take
same
that.
way,
I'll
you
take
know?
that, yeah.
That's like if LeBron and Luka were on, and I said, oh, you know, why
Yeah,
don't they
real
win?
talk.
Come on. Give us a little break. Let him get well again. Let us
No, but I didn't think I'd be surprised, so I'm shocked.
No, I mean,
Because I decided I wasn't doing that. I didn't think I should
because
want
y'all
to do
win
that
games,
shit.
I don't think y'all go win, and then y'all lose games. I
The
think
games
y'all
like
can
Chicago,
lose.
the
It's like
games
so
Chicago,
crazy.
maybe Utah. They're supposed to lose them games.
Oh, we back in that.
Talking Heads with Naughty is brought to you by Burger King, City of Hope, Fine Breads, John's Department Store, Joker's Wild, KFC, Naughty Johnny's, Prestige and Games, Heavy Towel, Prince Masters, San Castle Bahamas, Tropical Barrows, and the Water and Sewage Corporation.
We are back at you on the Monday, April 7th edition of Talking Heads. Naughty along with Mary Jane, the Pearl, and our very special guest, COI leader of the COI, Mr. Lincoln Bain. Second hour coming up. And, I'm going to speed things up a little bit so we can continue more dialogue with Mr. Bain. So let me get to the text lines. Everybody has been texting in. So let me get to them real quick. Naughty, you read about the attorney said today in the press that Minnis and Pintard used the same tactic to not nominate others, and Minnis should not be surprised. Isn't that part of playing the game, the rules of engagement? Naughty, please ask Mr. Bain if he has paid all the people that he allegedly owes their money back. Naughty.
Let me answer before you
Whenever
go.
you want. Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem.
I don't owe anyone, and I made a declaration when I ran in the by-election to show that I don't owe anyone. And so if you have any evidence that I owe someone, then I would have committed a crime. So please go and have that investigated, but I owe nobody. I have a lawsuit where I went into a business with someone. The business burned down, and that person invested. I invested. They feel I should pay them back personally, and the judge said that she believes I should pay them back personally. I don't agree with that, so I appealed it. And if I lose that, then I will pay that person. But as of now, I don't owe that person any money, and I don't think that anyone would pay someone in that circumstance. But in the end, if I owe, then I will just pay.
But at the moment, it's sub judice right now. It's before the courts.
Yes, it's before the courts.
We'll keep it moving.
Right. So, in other words, if you know of anyone I owe, I am live every Sunday at 5 o'clock, and I've always told people, if you know of something ill of me, please call in and expose me on my show. Bring it out. I have no problem with that. I'm not a deep freeze. I'm not hiding like other politicians or running from the microphone or from the public light. And you can't be in public life in this country and owe nobody. They will deal with you.
All right, when the PLP win the next election, the Minnis and Pintard and Bain era will all be over. Oh God, that's some funny. Listen, Thursday night is open mic night, Texter at Joker's. Come on over. I give you 3 minutes, 5 minutes.
I'll buy you drinks.
Funny.
I'll buy you
That's
drinks.
funny.
I will buy you drinks.
All right, here we go. Nick, I want you to listen keenly on this one because I think this is a question that obviously you can speak to. Good afternoon, Naughty, MJ, Pearly, and Mr. Bain. There's no way you could give 200,000 Bahamians 100,000 a year on an annual basis. That budget alone would be 20 billion a year. That means the budget in the Bahamas would be 40 billion a year. 20 billion to run and manage the country and 20 billion to give out. That's just ludicrous.
That's not correct. Yeah, I keep hearing people sometimes they say is 400,000 people. We're only given to adults 21 years of age and older. We estimate that to be about 150,000 persons. And so we believe that based on the natural resources that we are not monetizing right now, that once we monetize them by 2030, we are going to be able to make sure that everybody gets what's theirs. In the meantime, we're going to start doing things like we said before, water. And so we believe that they're spending $70 million on water right now. And most of that is because they bring in third parties. You can't get something cheaper by having a middleman. Even the drug dealers know that. And so we're going to cut out, we're going to cut out the middleman, and we are going to do reverse osmosis and desalination, and we are going to give people water as a human right. That's $70 million. We are going to give you free electricity. Why? Because the sun is free.
I'm going to give you a good chance to repeat that, because that is the kind of thing that galvanizes Bahamians. But please be specific, Lincoln, so it doesn't come off as pie in the sky.
Yeah, so we can do this now. $70 million is what they're spending because of wastage. A lot of these pipes are leaking underground, and a lot of wastage is happening, and we have middleman in there. So with water, we're going to make sure that you have that. We can do that now. They spending $58 million on travel, and we can't take that and use that on something that makes sense. We can do that now, and we're going to do that, okay? And so electricity is free, all right, because it can come from the sun and all these currents that we have around this country, near Current Island and Pulaski Dock, etc. We believe that electricity can be free. That dump, we've taken specialists to that dump, and that dump, the electricity from that dump is worth billions of dollars. That can power this entire island, okay, with the methane that's underneath it. They are not doing anything. The politicians don't want to do anything they can't make money from. But to make you understand, it's not totally free. It's free for personal use for Bahamians, all right, as a part of you being paid back for the use of our natural resources. So businesses are still going to pay, foreigners are still going to pay, but it's going to be subsidized for Bahamians.
How much does it cost to set up this system?
Say again?
How much does it cost to set up this system?
Which one?
You're saying that we could have free electricity.
Yes.
But we need the infrastructure, we need the investment. How much does it cost?
We are going to release
The
initial investment is going to be $90 million for the first plan that we're going to set up. We are going to release, you can look at our Vision 2030 on our website. It's already done, actually. The CPA is going to go through it, and we're going to release business plans for everything that we are saying. There's nothing that we are proposing that we won't show you the business plan for. In our Vision 2030, in most of those, you can see in year one, we do this. In year two, we do that. In year three, we do this, etc. Where the money is coming from. This is the first plan of this nature that this country has ever seen. And so business plans for our solar plants, our hydro plants, and everything else that we're proposing is going to be given to the people. But when we released Vision 2025, we actually gave you the numbers and how we can do each of these things. And so anyone who is still questioning that, they haven't actually looked at Vision 2025.
So
Okay,
go ahead.
I want to get into this. This $100,000 thing is something that has been a peeve of mine for a while. And I'm trying to wrap this around my head because I know my people. I know me. I know my people. Okay. Now, if we given 150,000 people, which is 21 years and older, which is the bulk of the working force.
$15 billion is what it's going to cost.
I'm not worried about the money. The amount of money doesn't matter to me per se. That's the bulk of the working force. You give me $100,000, ain't nobody can get me to come to work.
No, you give $100,000 per year.
I just tell you, if you give me $100,000, I don't need to go to nobody's job. I stay at home to chill. Others go into the shop to spend. Others go into Miami. And I know immigration is a key thing to you. Who can work in the hotels as the housekeepers? Because I believe that there's a role for people in the world. Somebody has to be the housekeeper, somebody has to be the accountant, somebody has to be the banker, somebody has to be the lawyer, somebody has to be the gas station attendant, all honorable positions. Yes. Who's going to pump the gas? Who's going to serve in McDonald's?
Great question, Pearly. That's why I like listening to you.
Who's going to be the maid? Who's going to be the secretaries? Because 90% of the people that get $100,000 a year ain't coming to work. So that means, are we going to bring a bunch of immigrants in to do these jobs?
Let me help you with that.
Okay,
That's a very good question. So give me a second to deal with that. All right. That's the question of the year, actually. There are countries that have experimented with this. Canada did an experiment with this in Manitoba, where they decided to give what is today worth almost $100,000 in our money, so $96,000 in our money today, to everyone in that province, that like a state, to give everyone that to see certain things. Will more people do drugs? Will more people drink? Will people stop working? Will they get more lazy? This was an actual experiment that was carried out for years. Okay, and so at the end of it, they realized that less people were drinking, as less people were stressed out, less people were doing drugs. They realized that people were now more productive. People were doing what they love. No one stopped working because they were getting that. That now became a nest egg and a savings. So people, $100,000, a bunch of money. You could spend that in a couple of days. All right. That ain't no bunch of money. And so people did not stop working, but now they started doing what they love. Can you imagine if a young child in your family who loves music, he can't really pursue his career because he got to work. He can't focus on music. But now, because they have something to fall back on in the family, we can experiment and let this young child make some music.
And
all right.
I respect
and
that.
So
but
what happened?
Are you telling me that because I'm getting $100,000, the housekeeping ain't going to Atlantis to work? Are you telling me that that clerk in Ministry of Foreign Affairs or Ministry of Works?
See, this is how we've been.
They're gonna stay. They're gonna put the 100,000 up.
Good question. We call ourselves Bahamian Evolution for a reason, my brother. And the reason we call ourselves Bahamian Evolution because it's time for the people to evolve. We were once slaves. Then we were servants. It's now time for us to be owners. Why can't we be the owners in this country and have the others come and work for us?
So you're saying we're going to bring immigrants in?
We have no problem with immigrants from America and from around the world. The COI has no problem with immigrants. I know people say that. We have a problem with illegal immigration
I do too,
and the corruption that goes along with it, and the politicians making money by selling papers to these people, sometimes robbing them. That's what we have a problem with. We don't have a problem with Haitians, Jamaicans, or anybody else.
But I look at Cayman Islands, who has a tremendous amount of expatriates working there, and a lot of them feel like they're losing their country to the expatriates.
And this is why they did not
bring all these immigrants into work at McDonald's, to work at Rubens, to work at Esso, to work in the hotel.
Everything that we have.
Let me finish. And if they're bringing them into work in the hotel to sell the tourists the Bahamas, a Jamaican, a Haitian, a Cuban, a Filipino, a European to sell the Bahamas working in the hotel, I can't buy that, Lincoln. I just can't buy that.
So you think that all of us should suffer? Right now, people can't buy groceries. People can't afford electricity.
No, what I think we should do.
Hold on, let me answer. You asked me a question. Let me answer. You think people should suffer because you feel no Bahamians are going to work? We should let this country stay the way it is. No one get nothing that's due to them. Let me answer you. There are countries that have done this, my brother. All right, Dubai, for example, their population is just over 300,000, just like ours. But their total. Let me answer so you can hear it. Their total population is 3 million. That's people living there. But their citizens, it's 300,000. Exactly. The reason Cayman is losing is because they are British and they are being overrun because they can't put a law in place that no one else gets citizenship. Let me tell you what we're going to do. When we get in, there's no more naturalization. If you are not a Bahamian at birth, you cannot become a Bahamian. And that's what these countries that let people benefit from their natural resources do. You go to Dubai, you can be there as long as you want. You will not become a citizen, so you will not be able to vote in their elections and overrun them. All of our neighboring countries have millions of people.
They come into Dubai and do all the jobs that regular native persons from Dubai no longer do because they're pursuing, like what you say, what they love.
If we don't,
you're gonna have to have the influence of,
and this is the next part of
to do those jobs.
Yes, but let me show you where this is going.
To do the grunt work.
Let me show you where this is going. This is happening now. All right. And if we don't win this next election, this country is going to be flooded with foreigners. The Mexicans, the Indians, and everybody else are running this country right now. Not just the Haitians. All right.
I think this is a good point for us to segue on.
No. I have to finish. I have to finish answering this. Just let me finish answering this. Right now, perfect. Right now, Bahamians are not getting jobs because foreigners are dominating the jobs. So right now, we could be broke with no jobs. We have immigrants getting all the contracts in Abaco. You got to go to an immigrant to get a job, and they're only hiring their people. And so right now, we are already headed there. You rather head there with Bahamians having a nest egg and something to fall back on. If it ain't 100,000 and it's 20,000, would you complain?
No, I would rather take the money. This is what I'd rather do with the money. I'd rather take the money, pay off them billions of dollars that we owe.
You can do both.
Let me finish. Fix the infrastructure of this country properly, fix the roads, fix the lights, make it a perfect country so businesses can make money and pay their employees a lot more money.
Why not do both? Why do we always have to think small?
Because I firmly believe if you give Bahamians and give anybody $100,000, this productivity is not going to be.
Let me show you why. Good question. Let me show you why we want to give people money, distribute money. Every country that went from developing nation to developed nation, they did one thing. They empowered their citizens. Either it was like Norway where they give you benefits, but they don't give out the cash, or it was like the Middle East countries that give you cash and benefits. All right. Those countries went from developing nation to developed nation. You know why? Because now the people have the money and the capital to do their dreams, to build the things that the country need. Our country is not developed because we're dependent on 15 people in the cabinet to determine what happens in this country. When a foreigner decides he coming over with an idea and they say, do your idea, the party get the credit.
I think we all agree with you.
All right.
Yeah, more Bahamians should have an input in our.
And so we want Bahamians to have the capital to be able to do and live their dreams.
All right, Linda, you got more questions again. Yeah, let's talk about that. Call us hang tight right after MJ's question. I'm coming to you guys.
COI, a lot of your immigration policies were the things that kind of propelled you to the forefront of the conversation.
Yes.
I wanted to
illegal immigration.
Let's start ground zero. What is an organic Bahamian?
An organic Bahamian is is a person who was born inside or outside of the Bahamas to one of whose parents is a Bahamian. So if you have one, if you have a Bahamian parent, you are an organic Bahamian. So, I believe, let me explain that. And there's some of my people who don't believe in that.
I want to make sure, when you say organic Bahamian, you could look at my last name and say he's an organic Bahamian.
No, I wouldn't.
If you do my background check, you could see I'm more Bahamian than plenty. I go way back to the Lutheran adventures with the Thompsons, the Roberts, the Browns, the Bethels. All right. I mean, I go back.
Let me show you.
Don't let this last name fool you. When I hear stuff like that, I want to make sure.
Well, right. So let me one sec, Mary. Let me Mary Jane. Let me just explain it. I believe that Bahamians are royalty, and we're going to start treating Bahamians like royalty and not last class in this country. And royalty should be good enough to pass their blood. So, sometimes in royal, the king would or the queen would marry, the Queen of England could marry someone from Spain or from France, and they come to England to live with the queen. Are you telling me that that queen, when they have a child, he can't become king and he no citizen because his daddy is something else? No, I believe that if you have Bahamian blood, you should be able to pass on your Bahamian blood so that your child can get the benefits. Now, we are not going to allow persons to be able to naturalize anymore. If you come here, you could get residency, work permit, all those stuff, but you cannot run for office in our country, just how it is in Haiti. You can't run for office there unless you are Haitian of origin. That's what they call an organic Haitian, a Haitian of origin, and you own property. And you can't own property unless you're a Haitian of origin and you live there. All right? They protect their country. Why aren't we protecting ours?
So let's just to be clear, because I had a look at your Vision 2030 quotes. Only with an organic Bahamian heritage may one hold senior government positions. Persons of foreign origin changing their last names via deed polls will be prohibited. And it seems that you are going on this bloodline kind of theory in terms of who is Bahamian versus who is not. You said that not only will naturalization not be allowed, but you're going to there's a possibility you may revoke some prior naturalization. Is that still your position?
No, nothing in there says that we're gonna revoke. Nothing in there says that we're gonna revoke. Nothing in there says that we're gonna revoke nationalizations. All right. Mm-hmm. What we're talking about is the moving forward. All right. Moving forward. There's going to be no more naturalizations. If you come to our country the right way, you can come here. If you have a job and somewhere with sense to live, then you can come and work here. All right, you'll get a work permit. Now, if you've been here so long, that means you were valuable to this country and no Bahamian needed that job that you have. You're not going to be able, I don't care if you was here for 20 or 30 years, to get citizenship. You can get residency, but you will not be able to get citizenship to be able to vote or to be able to run in our elections and take us over. I said, all of our neighbors have millions of people. At any point, any of them could overtake us. And majority rules. if we let our neighbors come here and overrun us, like it's happening in Turks and Caicos, like it's happening in Cayman, as you said, and because they are actual British colonies, we can't let that happen or we're going to lose our nation. I am going to stand up and defend this nation, and we're going to protect us. That don't mean the foreigners can't come, You can come and help us build because we have major building projects. But you're not going to do anything a Bahamian could do or wants to do, and you're going to come the right way. If you come the wrong way, you're going to jail. All right? But if you come the right way, welcome.
Just clarify for me, whose last name is now Zenica Zelaya, which you would not consider I guess, Bahamian last name, and you talk about people can't change their last names. Why that prohibition on persons changing their last names? And if you don't have a Bahamian, was considered, I guess it's like
foreigners will not.
I guess it's like pornography. The U.S. Supreme Court said we don't know what pornography is, but we know it when we see it. What is a Bahamian last
That's
name?
a good. I love that. I love that.
That is funny. We
That is funny.
But we know it when we see it.
Let me see. What is a Bahamian last name? And talk about this prohibition of persons who may want to just change their name. Why is that such a point of contention for the Coalition of Independence?
We all know what a last name of Bahamian origin is. We know what a last name of Chinese origin is. We know
Bahamian last name.
That's not a Bahamian last name, but a Bahamian can have that last name.
Okay, so
Pintard is not a Bahamian last name, but a Bahamian can have that last name.
And if a Zenica Zelaya wants to change their name to my maybe maternal last name, Bethel,
he's a Bahamian. He's a Bahamian, a
what
foreigner.
Based on that, there's no Bahamian last name, because even your last name is not a Bahamian last name, because you're a slave. Slave owner came and gave you that last name.
No, they didn't.
I don't even know why there's a focus on that.
My father's grandfather was a slave owner. So, but the Bain, who gave Bain Town to the slaves?
That's my point.
All right. So, but what I'm saying is, we know what traditionally a Bahamian last name is, and we don't talk about Bahamian last names in our document. That's something that you're bringing up.
Actually,
Naughty, as far as I know.
Let me just say this because you just made a point that's not accurate.
Okay.
Only people, according to your Vision 2030, only with an organic Bahamian heritage, which is not defined yet, may one hold senior government positions. Persons of foreign origin changing their last names via deed polls will be prohibited. Is my son a person of organic Bahamian heritage with the last name Zenica Zelaya?
Yes, because you're a Bahamian, right?
I am a Bahamian.
And if you heard the definition,
the last name is not what you call a Bahamian.
We didn't mention anything.
You actually, I
so
just
if
read
my
it.
son wants to change,
all right, hold on. You're not letting me answer the question.
Okay, please.
All right.
I want to be clear because this actually
persons of foreign.
Yes.
Persons of foreign origin.
Sure.
A Haitian coming to the Bahamas will not be, as an example, a Chinese coming to the Bahamas, an American coming to the Bahamas will not be able to change their last name. We saw Chinese doing deed poll in the papers that they changed their name to Davis. All right. They are doing that to use our country, I believe, to now go to America and get citizenship and get accepted easier, because they will be assumed to be one of those Bahamian Chinese that America knows that we have. All right? They are taking advantage of us. We're not going to let that happen anymore. Your child, my children's grandmother is a Jamaican. All right? I have no problem with foreigners.
Sure.
All right? Almost 90% of
are you using a hatchet when you can use a scalpel here?
No.
Why?
Listen again. I don't think that. Let me tell you why it makes sense. Because we have people coming here and infiltrating us and taking our identity and using that. And they're using that to get crown land and get other advantages in our country.
We do have those
I am going to protect this nation. All right. We're not going to be infiltrated and taken over to the point where we have a prime minister of Chinese or Haitian or American origin. We want Bahamians running this Bahamas. And I am not apologetic for being a proud Bahamian who wants to protect this country for Bahamians. All right? Naughty is a Bahamian. Your child is a Bahamian because you are Bahamian.
Because you know Naughty and you know he's a Bahamian?
Because of his heritage.
And you hear Zenica Zelaya, is that Bahamian?
Listen, I think you're I think
I have a hard time pronouncing it sometimes after 20 years.
I think you're misunderstanding what you're reading. What we are reading is nothing to do. It doesn't say that if you have a foreign name, you're not a Bahamian. That doesn't say that.
Why
That is
can't
talking
persons
about
change their names though.
Bahamians can change their name to whatever they want. All right, we're not letting.
Naturalization is no longer in the question.
If you want
All right,
change,
So if
if
naturalization is out, then you're only talking about
Hold on.
Bahamians.
no, it
Right.
will be out. All
Yes,
right,
that's what you're saying.
it will be out.
Sure.
But if you are a foreign origin and you want to change your name, go home and change your name. All right, don't
Let's-
come here and try to change your
let's
name
talk a little
to
bit
get
more.
the
All right, let me
advantages
just
of our
get these
Bahamians.
in
Oh,
in 30 seconds or
we
less.
have a lot of calls.
And then we got other
Callers.
questions because you have something, Pearly got
Yeah.
something, I got something. All right, call
Just
it.
to be clear in immigration.
30 seconds. We got to make it quick. Get your question in, and Mr. Van will answer. All right. So we appreciate you calling. Here we go. Talking heads. All right, man. What's going on?
Caller.
One thing for Mr. Bain, right? Freedom Nation is calling for justice to any politician, so that's where the government option.
Can you repeat that, please?
$100,000, that's just a bad idea because ain't no being to pick up the garbage, another minimum job. So that's just a bad idea. The next thing I want to ask him, right, is how did he get Lewis to join him? Because that's really weird to happen for him. I could see him going to independent or going to the PLP, but how did he get to talk him into joining his party? I have his answer.
All right, thanks, man.
Thank you so much.
Let's get these other calls in real quick, and then we can let Mr. Van answer on all. Talking heads. Hey, what's going on, man? Make it quick for Mr. Van. Go ahead.
But here's what I'm saying to you. Go ahead and look at Switzerland as a country. Everyone in Switzerland has money to the point where if you drop money on the ground, no one picks it up. They do extremely well. All I'm simply saying is that I'm listening to the conversation. It almost comes across as three against one, but we need to start having constructive conversations as to how we can make anything work. If we disagree, we need to break it down to where we can say what is the working formula and what we're saying. Because we don't all have the answers, but if we're going to build a country, we can't build it on what we built over the last 40 years. That's not working. That is not working today. We got to find some new formula.
I think we.
All right, God. I recognize your voice, man.
Thanks
All
so
right,
much,
good to hear from
caller.
you.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's get to the other calls. Talking heads.
You're loading him up with a lot of.
No, but I got to get them out of the way now, so
Okay,
at least
sure.
talking heads. Go ahead.
Yes, okay.
Hey, what's going on?
Caller. Not your strong leader. He can defend himself.
No, man.
Stop crying, man. Stop
This
crying.
good
I'm not
question.
even entertaining that.
I love it.
I ain't even entertaining that. I ain't even
Big man
entertaining
can
that
so blow.
foolishness.
Big man can so blow. Don't worry about it. He all right.
He can dish out plenty blow, and your minions can dish out plenty blow, all right? Because you all are swallowing morality like Jim Jones, all right? So don't play with me. You all can handle yourself. All right, real quick. But let me get this question in, if we could. The texts, keep them coming. We'll get to Mr. Van before we depart, and let him get to the text as well as the calls. But here's the question. It's come up, first and foremost. How is Mr. Lewis Tooth doing? Lincoln, what's the latest on Iron Street?
He did his procedure that next morning, and he's doing good.
I don't know why he just didn't go directly to the deputy of the
Exactly.
COI, who is a
Very
well-decorated
good.
dentist.
Very good.
He already had an appointment. And that
Oh,
was it.
I just wanted to make sure.
I know you are, but I saw that they put that out saying that he was a no-show. He was supposed to be on 3 shows that same day. He was on Shanique Miller's show that night, and you heard Clint Watson say you would see him simultaneously
It was
on.
pre-recorded. That's
Yeah,
right.
because it was pre-recorded, and he was on Jerome Sawyer with me.
Good stuff.
All right,
Mhm.
and so that was pre-recorded, and Jerome played it the next day.
All right.
So he wasn't a no-show. Just by the last one, he'd been in the
So-
house, had a long day, and his head
Now,
was
cut
on
to the
fire.
chase. That works for me. Let
Yeah.
me cut to the chase. Why was there no seat in Central Grand Bahamas challenged by the COI when you had your convention? Now here's my point. I saw
Convention.
or elections or
Then you named your
candidacy.
I think he said.
why wasn't a candidate named for that?
Did you know
Because hold on
that
now.
something
I saw Aaron and you all
lie.
shoulder to shoulder, elbow to elbow,
Don't lie.
all homeboy, and several rallies and several other things and several appearances they made. So me, not like my daddy said, I won in the night battle, not last night. So when this came, it was a no-brainer because obviously you had been courting him all along. The COI had been courting him all along. And in true typical fashion, like his good track and field buddy Ren with Wells, he called for the time to say, hey, Rennie, when's a good time to jump? You know how it is to jump from ship to ship and pillar to post. How do I do it? And there he did it. Because obviously, it's a great opportunity. If I was a political dead man walking in my constituency, which he was, obviously, because the constituents didn't want it, the voters didn't want it, and obviously I guess 75% of his family lived down there. From what I heard from them, they don't want him either. So you you would have rescue helicopter. If I was him, I would have jumped on board and ride hard for you, because guess what? You're extending my political career.
I don't know that any of that is true.
It is true. The constituency put out a statement saying
that is in the constituency. The chairman of that constituency, his name is Lester. He goes by LSD on WhatsApp, and he spreads propaganda for the FNM, some lies and stuff. He's put lies out there on me. All right. He is a supporter of Pintard, and so of course, if Pintard don't want him, he lets the person from the association write a letter. That doesn't mean that that's everyone in the association, or even if it is, the association might decide that, listen, you voted against our leader, we don't want you. All right, and so that could be their choice. We haven't spoken to the 5,000 people in that constituency, and only them can choose. Now, I've spoken to a lot of them, because before I made this decision to allow him to come, we went on the ground. All right. And people would know I spent a lot of time in Grand Bahama over the last few months, and I went on the ground and I spoke to people on the ground. And a part of our council, people in our party allowing this to happen, although everyone didn't know exactly what was going on, is because the people on the ground wanted him. We put it out there hypothetically. We called a bunch of names in FNM and PLP, and we went through each name individually.
Right.
All right, because we didn't want them to know who it was, and we got an answer based on that. But I went on the ground, and those people on the ground are saying something different. All right.
But
now
why do you say you've been on the ground? You ran in the last general election, in the last by-election. Didn't do fair as well. Will you be running back there again?
Back there? No.
That was just a test.
You're in politics, man. You got to pay attention to what's going on.
I pay close attention. That's why I'm asking you that.
I was ratified, and we ratified some of our candidates last year. The first 19
was to Pinewood.
No, yes, Pinewood is where I didn't go back there. That was just a by-election, and the party voted. I didn't want that. The party voted unanimously, and when we went on the ground in West End, the people held meetings, and they said we wanted to be Lincoln.
And correct me, you didn't have a candidate in the 2021 general election in West Alabama.
We did.
So what happened to them? The people don't want them.
He decided he didn't want to be a part of it anymore, and in fact, he's applied to run for the FNM. Now, that happens, okay? And so the people though decided that if we have one voice in the House of Assembly, they wanted it to be me to be able to hold the government's voice to the fire. That was their reasoning. And when they came with that reasoning, I said, okay, I'll be the one to do it. They didn't want to put a new person in politics in the House by themselves to have to deal with them in the House of Assembly going back and forth.
But now,
so that was
a lot of people say,
technically, wouldn't you be a newbie though, Lincoln, because you haven't been in the House before either?
I have a lot of political experience over the last 20 years dealing with politicians and
my
fighting these.
question is, you would have still been a newbie because you was first time. You got to be a rookie at some point.
Yeah, you have to be a rookie at some time.
How much potential you show coming up?
But I was expected to be the LeBron rookie.
Well, that explains everything.
Lord.
That explains.
He did not win the championship in rookie year.
No, he didn't.
Okay.
No, he didn't.
Let me ask you this question.
That explains everything.
Let me ask you this
Every
question.
moment.
We know that you applied for the FNM ticket in 2017.
Right.
Say again?
You did apply to run for the FNM in 2017 in Pinewood.
Yes, I did.
And you weren't successful.
That's when it all.
So a lot of FNMs, a lot of people are saying that the only reason that the COI exists today and the only reason why you don't is because you vexed. You didn't get that nomination in 2017.
That's incorrect. I've explained this a lot of times. I had a problem.
No, because one second, it is very LeBron-like. You went from the FNM to the
Lord, see, I tell you, should have called that
I mean, that is very LeBron-like. You're always chasing a championship. Hey, that's very LeBron-like.
You're stating false that I've never been a part of the PLP in any way.
Okay.
I've never been to a PLP meeting.
All right.
Hold on. I have only ran for the DNA because I went to go independent. And the DNA asked me to come on board, and my association discussed it, and they said, "Let's go with the support of the DNA." All right, so you're not by yourself. And then, no. I've never run for the FNM. After I was. Let me explain to you.
Didn't get it.
You want to hear an answer?
That
is not true.
You
want me to answer? Or you don't want me to answer?
I want you to tell me the truth.
Okay, and I will do that, but you got to let me answer to tell you the truth.
Go right ahead, LeBron. I mean, Lincoln. The L's got me confused. Sorry.
Hold on. All right, this is what it really was. I was never interested in politics. I was an activist for a very long time.
Correct.
In 2007, I was offered to run. In 2012, I was offered to run. I said, no, I'm going to stick with activism. I'm not interested. By 2017, I was very disenfranchised with where the country was going, and Ingram was gone. Minnis came aboard saying that he was going to do different. I'm not a lawyer. I'm going to do different. I'm going to focus on the poor. We're going to have policies for the ghetto, etc. And I said, you know what? This man may be different. And so I was not a part of the F&M at that time. I was not a member or anything. And I said, and I started to meet with Minnis, and he started to listen to stuff I was telling him, and he started to actually want to implement some of these things. He started talking about some of these things. So I said, you know what? I make it go with this man. He looks like he's going to be different. And so I then joined, and I applied to be a candidate to offer my talents and my skills. All right. You were an F&M at the time, so you know when I was there.
Yeah.
All right, Earl Thompson. But there
Pearly.
came a
Pearly. Yeah.
Pearly. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. But then it came a time when people in the F&M started fighting Minnis. All right. Well, before that, there was the LOI situation that the F&M fought. All right. You were there.
Yeah.
And we went and we protested. We had big protests in front of the House of Assembly. I drew up placards, and I was a part of that. And we said that the LOI situation was corruption, and we won't stand for it. They said the F&M will never let this go. That's the words they said. And we were going to fight that. And then a couple of weeks later, Loretta and those were trying to oust him. He heard of it, and he said, I got to bring in Renwood Wells and Andre Rollins from the PLP. And I was a part of his inner circle, as you will know, because he was in F&M. And I said to him,
let me make something clear.
I said,
hold on. When I on this show, I wear no hat other than the show.
Yeah, that's
So
fine. That's fine. I just saying that
the people
I know you from there. Okay, I
know
can do that.
I am.
Okay. All right. So he said to us, I'm going to bring in Renwood Wells and Andre Rollins. I said, I don't follow with Rollins, but we went out there and protested against Renwood Wells. We said that it was corruption and we need answers. We've not gotten an answer. And I have a problem with that. I will not stand for that because I stand up on principle. I've been fighting corruption for many years by that time. I think I was about 10 years at that time. I was fighting corruption. And I said, I'm not comfortable with that. And he said, well, Lincoln, you just got to do what you have to do. They got overthrow me. I said, let them overthrow you. You're still the leader of the opposition. Let them overthrow you. Stand up on principle. And he said, no, you don't understand these things. I have to bring Renwood Wells. And so I said, well, I'm not standing next to him. All right. By that time, the executives had already announced me as the candidate for Pinewood, although it was not ratified by the council. All right. They've already announced me, Dwayne Sands, and someone else who later withdrew as the candidates. I stood on principle. When he brought Renwood Wells, I brought Renwood Wells on my show, and I told him that what he did was wrong. It shouldn't have happened, and he needs to speak the truth about who told him to do it, if someone told him to do it. Sure. And I told him I'm going to stand up on principle. The F&M was angry with me because of that. Minnis became angry with me, but I stood on principle. And I told Minnis that if you're going to do this now, that's corruption because it benefits you. What are you going to do when you get in the House of Assembly, when you become Prime Minister? And I campaigned against Minnis. I campaigned against him at the next leadership convention, even though I knew it would have jeopardized my candidacy because I saw corruption, and all this was public on my radio show. I didn't hide this, and I knew that I would lose the candidacy because I openly campaigned against him on the radio and in the F&M and told him that's corruption. I'm not going to stand by that because I'm a man who stands by principle. And of course, next thing I know, Lanisha was trying to get in Pinewood, and you know the rest of what happened.
I think we got the story now.
So that's what happened.
We got time constraints. We want to take it right to the wire. So get your question, MJ, and I have another question.
A couple of questions, Lincoln. These are going to focus strictly on policy, and for the sake of getting in as many as I can before we switch to our other hosts, if you can just exercise some brevity and just answer, and I just have ideas because I did spend a lot of time over the last, since we confirmed this interview, looking at the Vision 2030.
Yeah.
You have some great ideas in there.
Thank you.
You also have some ideas that I think need to
There's some more they're uploading.
So we'll keep looking at it as you amend it. But I want to talk about finance because I think the pocketbook issues are the things that really are concerning to Bahamians right now. You talk about revitalizing and the Bank of the Bahamas. You talk about breaking the dominance of the commercial banks. How do you do that without risking market instability? You talk about, from your Vision 2030, you said BOB will serve as a benchmark for fair banking. If BOB has no fee for savings accounts or offers 0% small business loans, competitors must respond by lowering their own fees or offering better rates to avoid losing customers. How do you do this without risking market instability and without, because you also go on to talk about lifting exchange controls as well. How do you do that without risking capital flight? These are things that may have unintended consequences. What is the solution according to you and the COI?
Most of the capital made in this country, that's a lot of questions right there, but I'll start with the last one.
But they're kind of joined together.
So in terms of capital flight, we're going to remove exchange control. Right now, exchange control is only on Bahamians, all right?
Right.
So foreigners can remove their money. And it's them who's making most of the money in this country. So when Atlantis makes their money, it's them making the capital. We're making salaries, all right, for the most part. And so us removing
money. We invest, we buy bonds, we invest.
But people want their money home, all right? Wherever their home is, that's where people are going to want their money. And they have advantage from being here.
So why release the exchange controls?
We won't need exchange control anymore. We're using exchange control right now to hold on to the value of our dollar, to keep it 1 to 1, because that's an asset we have.
Artificial dollarization.
We will have other assets, all right, like other countries do, because now we're going to monetize our natural resources. So we don't need cash money as the only thing that we can monetize.
So if I have to invest $50,000 in, let's say, Alive, or I have to invest $50,000 in Facebook, what am I doing? Facebook or Amazon, what am I doing with my capital?
You're investing it.
Where am I investing it?
You're investing it in Alive.
Really?
You said you're investing in Alive.
Apple versus Amazon versus Tesla?
We want...
Why remove the exchange controls?
Because they make no sense for us. They don't benefit us.
There's a justification for it.
Dubai does not have exchange control.
We're not Dubai.
America does not have exchange control. Dubai was once... Let me answer. Dubai was once more poor than the Bahamas is, all right? They leverage their natural resources to do what they're doing, all right? Exchange control only puts burdens on Bahamians. Bahamians are not freely allowed to invest in the stock market. We want Bahamians to create wealth, because guess where they can bring them wealth when they finish? Right back here where they live, all right? Bahamians are not allowed...
acknowledge that that's an autocratic society. They make the rules. They're monarchy from the top down. You have no say, no control. This is a
almost
democracy.
No country.
This is a democracy.
Almost no country in the world has exchange control. They justified exchange control in the Bahamas because we are using our exchange, our US dollars mostly, to justify our $1 dollar value.
Because we want control.
What I'm saying to you is we have 2,500 keys that have value. All right, a lot of it is crown land. We have billions of tons of, and this is realized, billions of tons of aragonite. We have limestone. All we have to do is what Dubai did. Dubai, when they were poor, when they found the oil, they realized that it was only a small amount of oil. So what they did was put a value on that, and then they used that to raise capital. We don't have to keep Bahamians' money in the Bahamas. That's holding us back. We need to be able to raise loans from outside the country. Right now, they're controlling you because they own the banks or they're on the boards of the banks, and they control who gets access to capital. You need to be able to go outside of this country and get capital to build your dream if you want to.
The loans come from. The loans come from outside the country.
No, but it comes from companies that are here. All right, it comes from Royal Bank is here. Royal Bank is here.
All the banks that you're going to get loans from are the ones that are here.
Right.
Citibank, Royal Bank, Scotiabank, all of them, that's the World Bank.
But you're not understanding exactly what's going on. Bahamians have their money in the bank. We make billions of dollars in salaries and we put it directly in the bank. All right. And so that money that's in the bank, they take and lend to, for example, Atlantis. They loan Atlantis money to build their dreams. They lend to Bahama money, $250 million to build their dreams.
That was US dollars that were brought in.
But not in every instance.
Every instance that was US dollars.
No,
it was US.
So listen to what I'm saying. They use our money to build their dreams. Bahamians should be able to use their money to build their dreams.
Okay, you invoked Atlantis, you invoked other places like that. This is the last question I have on the finance. You talk about in
You
your
had
vision.
you had two parts to that question.
I know, but you kind of
One was
put it
exchange
at the
control.
I
end.
need to
think
get.
have the
I
answer.
need to get
This is
this
the last one
question.
because he
You
talked
save the
about
good questions for the
because
end.
he invokes it. I mean, because we wanted to give everyone a chance. You talk about in your Vision 2030 the legalization of casino gambling for Bahamians. Is this a socially responsible move? Does it risk long-term harm? And what about those dollars moving? So I guess you're proposing Bahamians be able to gamble in the casinos. All of the casinos are foreign-owned. What
For
is
me,
your,
for me,
what is
this
your thoughts on
good.
that?
For me, this is not about gambling in casinos. This is about owning the casinos. The casino hotel is the nexus of our economy. And there is no situation where a country should have something that their natives cannot own that is running their economy.
Sure.
That's like when they made a law in England that only foreigners could make salt, and that was their number one industry. We should be able to own the
So
casinos,
your proposal
and
is
also-
Bahamians own casinos.
and that no one should be able to do anything in my country that I can't do. If gambling is wrong, no one should be able to do it in my country. But if gambling is okay, then if a white man could do it because he is from America, or if a Haitian could do it because he's from Haiti, I should be able to do it because I'm a Bahamian. Now, socially, that law was put in place because Cable Beach Hotel was supposed to be the Atlantis of their day. All right, and the hobby horse racetrack and the persons were able to gamble there. And Pinlin and his crew believe, and I spoke to Don Makers at the
I do
time.
have to get this question before the end, though.
Yeah,
Hold on,
yeah,
but
yeah,
Pinlin and those believe that most of our tourists would come from the south of America. Remember, this is in the 60s, 70s, when there was still turmoil.
Sure.
And so the Pinlin believe that those persons would not want to gamble next to Black Bahamians. And so for that reason, they vilified gambling.
First time I hear this.
And yeah, go talk to persons from that
I
era.
can do that.
They vilified gambling,
Sure.
and they stopped Bahamians from gambling. There was the Bahamian Club. Listen, there was the Bahamian Club where Bahamians could gamble, and there was the hobby horse racetrack. And then they started vilifying it. Oh, Bahamians spending all their money and this and that. But they didn't feel that they would want us socially. Some Bahamians still say it. Bahamians can carry on too bad.
No, as a first principle, because we went to a referendum
Obviously.
that was later turned into an opinion poll after this.
Mhm.
Bahamians said, we don't want these activities. You're saying now that, yes, despite that referendum, the train has left the station. So you not only want to continue the gambling, but you want to expand it.
If you are going to have anything in my country, a Bahamian should not be prohibited from it.
Right.
If you're going to make money from gambling,
Sure.
Bahamians should be able to make money from gambling, not foreigners. If you're going to gamble in my country,
Sure.
then Bahamians should gamble. If you want to legalize marijuana and have the foreigners
Everybody
smoke
should
dope,
smoke.
Bahamians should be able to smoke dope. I'm not saying I agree with
All
smoking
right,
dope.
All right, let me get this in.
Thanks for that question. That was a great question.
We have to have you back, obviously, because the phone lines are
I
dead.
get mad.
Oh,
Texas,
Lord.
I appreciate your callers at that show, but
Yeah.
time is time, and I got to get this in because this should have been asked earlier. This should be asked late. This should be asked now, and I got to ask this because I need to know. What is your hyper fixation and hyper attention to the leader of the opposition, Mr. Michael Pinto? The question is why I'm asking this.
Mhm.
I know you just don't look at this block. You look further down the road. Do you see you sharpening your iron right now against the future leader of the country so you know who to go after? Because obviously, if the country takes the tone that it's taken, considering our elections last, it's going to be a swing again. And you're establishing the COI, but obviously, you have to go through some years of establishment and cutting your teeth before you can actually bite into the political fray. Now, are you trying to bite into political, like seeing down the road, reading the tea leaves? Look, this could possibly be the next leader of the country. So let me start from now, letting him know that I could be a thorn in his side from the break. And obviously, if it turns out a weak opposition, do you think you could knock the PLP out of being the next opposition? His Majesty's Royal Opposition, and you could lead up being the next opposition. That is why I'm asking the question. Are you sparring now? Are you shadow
You're
boxing
repeating it over and
now?
over every other time.
Go,
So-
go.
So you want my personal?
I
Okay.
just need an answer.
I
Personal
do not believe that Michael Pintard will ever be the leader of this country because he is not the leader of the FNM.
Why you say that?
Who's the leader
Because
of FNM?
whoever is pulling his strings is who is the leader.
Who's
I
pulling
believe
your strings?
no one is pulling my
So
strings,
why,
and everyone knows
why
that.
do you feel that somebody pulling your strings and nobody pulling your strings? I can let you get away
What do you
with
mean
that.
if no one is pulling my strings?
Ain't nobody pulling the strings.
I believe that Brent T. Simonet and
No,
other oligarchs
no.
are pulling the
That-
strings
that-
of
that's
Michael
saying
Pintard.
that-
You
that-
asked for my
Okay, and I hear your opinion,
You
but
asked
that's
for my
been a farce.
opinion,
That's
all right?
been a farce about the Free National Movement from day one. and we got to get
What?
away from that. That is not true.
That is true.
Well, you know what I
strengths
personally think? The strings
of
are
the-
pulled in the PLP by Frankie the Snake Wilson.
Because some
They
people
put in
think,
the
some
academic
people,
allegedly by Brent Simonet, and in your party, Dr. MacGyver.
and some people
That's
think
what I
Brand
hear.
Davis pulling your
Dr.
strings.
MacGyver doesn't
A
pull
lot
any
of people
strings.
Yes,
think
you
the
got the
PLP
checkbook.
financing you. A
Okay.
lot of people
I can
think
add
the
it to
PLP
you.
A lot of people feel that the PLP is financing the
Good.
COI.
Well, guess what? The
And they believe
PLP.
that Brave Davis is pulling
You want me
your
to
strings.
answer? The
Yeah.
PLP is not financing us. We do dollar drives that we get ridiculed for, and most of the people who support us, support us, are entrepreneurs. The people who are attracted to us are entrepreneurs. People who don't have to answer to no boss or get fired by government or their boss tell them, I'm a PLP, you can't go out there with them. You go and look at the faces of the people you see at our protests, at our events. A lot of them are entrepreneurs. I'm not saying that there are no common people, but they are entrepreneurs working together to make this happen. And if we come together as a people, we may not have what Brent Simonet have or what Frankie Wilson and all the West Coast have, but we have enough to bring this change that we need.
I hear you, Lincoln. I do.
Then you
I
can
do
come
hear
back.
you. No, but
Whenever you're ready. Because she just started asking the good questions,
I
man.
just was getting into the policy, but but let me just say this on the last question that you guys talked about. I do think that it's unfair to say someone is a puppet master. We know how this politics.
He asked my belief and my
No, I
opinion.
got you.
Yeah.
I got you. But I
No,
just-
no,
My opinion can't be unfair.
No,
No,
he's
no,
not
I
telling you.
said-
Mine is all
I
good.
think it's unfair if you put it out there without the proper context, which is
The
that
context
all
is that's
political-
Lincoln being
Wait.
opinion.
The context is all political parties get funding, and just to call someone a puppet because they get
I don't
funding
believe
from
it's the
different
funding. I
places,
believe it's the
it's not
control.
right.
It's not like
It's
that.
I
not-
believe
it's
that they're
not- it's
controlled.
not right.
No, it's
But-
I know more about the
But
F&M
guess
that
what?
you think you know.
Yeah, that's a
And I
great
know more than
segue.
you think I know.
And guess what? This is a great segue for another show. So we'll work out another time, another day.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. I
Appreciate
appreciate it. Great questions. Loved
Good
it.
stuff.
All right,
when
Pearly.
when you amend your Vision 2030, because I was really interested in it, just send
I
me
have to
the-
make you understand. Vision
Hello,
2020-30 is the preliminary document. As we
Okay.
said when we released it,
Okay.
we are presenting this to the Bahamian people for their review. And if you look on what you're looking at the bottom of it, you can put your input. And if you say,
Sure.
I don't think we should get $100,000, then you put that right there with the document. And then in the end, when we present it officially for the election period, it will have the ideas of the Bahamian people. This is the first plan that has gone to the Bahamian public where they can actually contribute. That is what Minnis told me that he was going to do in the F&M, and they started it, and then it stopped all of a
I
sudden.
would never say I don't think I should get 100,000. I would just say we shouldn't.
I'm just
promise it if we
saying,
can't deliver it.
this is
That's all
if
I'm
there's
saying.
anything in there you don't like, you
Right.
just go there, contribute, and then we will go over it, and then we will change it.
Good stuff.
Really appreciate you being here.
Thank you,
Line
man.
it up for another day.
Yeah.
We'll do it again, and we'll continue the conversation.
Yes.
Policy.
Just pick it up and keep
I
going.
appreciate y'all having me.
I'm
Yeah,
saying, Rick.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
And I do appreciate you coming in and answering the tough questions and taking the calls, unlike other political parties and their chairmen and so on and so forth. So
Yeah,
I tip my hat to you on that.
Yeah.
Good show, everybody. MJ Pearly, appreciate you. Lincoln, thank you for being here. Everybody who texted in, called in. Yeah,
And
man.
let's apologize to our callers who didn't get in. We promise you next time we'll get you.
Yeah, we'll get you in. You know how it is. We normally get you in today, but this was a hot one today. And we'll see you tomorrow. We'll talk about things Grand Bahama mañana, so I'm sure we'll be talking more about what's going on in Central Grand Bahama, the fires, and so on and so forth. So keep it right where you got it. Tune in to us tomorrow. Again,
We're going to be in
Actually,
Central Grand Mama on Thursday at the
Yeah.
YMTA at 7 o'clock, not the CA, the YMTA in Hunters at 7 o'clock. We're going to be there.
All right. So make sure to go out and see Lincoln while he's there on the ground in Grand Bahama as well.
All right.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. Thank you, Lincoln.
It's like, oh,
We
okay.
need more shows.
Good
Let's
stuff.
fire
Let's
fire them.
No,
I
but
just
it's real
wanna-
answers and people get
I
it here. We
just
can
want to
hear.
get
Yeah.
policy answers. That's more important from all parties, actually. I look forward to this season.
Yeah, that's what I wanted you to ask.
I
Like the
want
good stuff.
everybody to answer policy questions for the Bahamian people. Like that's what I really, really want.
Oh, Lord.
Get in the bathroom.
Yeah, you're right. It's really always cold in here, and you with no jacket.
I ain't going. I don't be going in here.
Oh, it's freezing.
I'm good.
Well, that's some Minnesota blood, but they putting you in the school.